Well, apparently, here we go. Well, apparently I didn't press the right button on the live stream. So I apologize it's now it's working. So I apologize for the first few readers. You weren't recording. Totally my fault. I mean, we could have you do it again if you want. Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew something was going to go wrong. Something always goes wrong. Okay. All right. Well, Kathy. All right. Up next is Matt Roberts. He has loved writing ever since he won a poetry contest in the 5th grade. He is currently on the board of directors for UCB Pride. He's a Maryland Freemason and is pursuing a degree in English. Matthew attended the Light Street Writers Exchange program in 2016 and 2017. Is that? That was he is hard at work on his debut novel.
So that poem that she was talking about that I won an award for in the 5th grade was about a donkey, so don't be too impressed. And side note, I feel really weird being up here and reading right now because I don't know how I can follow up from that. That was absolutely gorgeous, so thank you for that. What I'll be doing is just reading the beginning of my short story called Safe Haven. Here it is, the landlord introduced. Apartment 343. You're lucky, it was the last unit available. Luke looked around, a bag slung over each shoulder. The off-white paint chipped away on most surfaces and a drip, drip, drip could be heard emanating from the kitchen to the left. But it would do. Yes, Luke agreed sarcastically. I'm so lucky. Luke could see the slightly embarrassed look on the landlord's face. But thank you so much for assisting me. I know it's late. I was hoping to get here earlier, but you know city traffic, and I'm not used to driving moving trucks. No problem. It's my pleasure. Luke thought his smile and demeanor seemed sincere enough. As if on cue, Luke's friend Tasha entered the threshold with 3 boxes stacked on top of each other. Luke was surprised she even made it that far carrying so much. Little help here, Tasha implored as the 2 men rushed over to relieve her. After laying down the box he grabbed, the landlord made a farewell gesture and left the 2 friends to go about their business. Do you need help unpacking? Tasha was already in the process of ripping the tape off one of the boxes she brought up. Oh, no thanks, Luke said. I'll do that later. I'm in no rush. Right now, I just want to get everything out of the truck before it starts raining, or before I get a ticket for illegally parking in that space. Okay, Tasha said with a determined expression on her face, hands on her hips. Let's knock it out. Luke wasn't sure what he had expected. He didn't own too much, but he had assumed it would take a lot longer to unload the truck. Fortunately, they were able to bring in the last item before the rain hit. Before we lose momentum, let's return the truck, Tasha said. I can follow you there and then drive you back. Sounds like a plan. Luke wanted to get rid of that monstrosity as soon as possible. Truth be told, he also couldn't afford a ticket right now, and he knew he was running on borrowed time before a cop noticed the violation. After dropping the moving truck off, Luke jumped into Tasha's 1998 sky blue Ford Pinto. Even though he was soaked, Luke couldn't help but feel a certain sense of accomplishment as they drove back in the rain. Are you going to be okay? That's a loaded question. Luke's whole body began to slump. Do you want me to stay with you tonight? Tasha asked. I don't mind sleeping on the floor. A couple blankets and a pillow will work. No, I think I'll be all right by myself tonight. Everything has happened so fast that I haven't even had time to process it all. Okay, that's fine, Tasha replied. But don't hesitate to call if you change your mind. I don't care what time it is. You wouldn't hear me if I called, Luke said, his voice edged with humor. Your phone is always on silent. I could be fleeing from a serial killer and calling you as my last lifeline, and you would be in a deep sleep. I will turn the volume up just for you, Tasha giggled. Tasha changed topics and started talking about the latest Hollywood gossip, but Luke looked out the passenger window lost in thought. He wondered how his ex would react. It's not like he gave him any warning. Nick would undoubtedly be furious when he noticed the absence. Right then, Tasha's phone went off. The name Nick, Luke's BF, appeared on the screen. Don't answer that, Luke ordered.
Okay, apologies to, well, there's probably not anybody there anymore, but if you were looking for this live stream at 2:00, I'm a dope that didn't push the button correctly. So, you know, they didn't teach us that in grad school. All right, up next is Kathy McCluskey. She's a resident of Federal Hill and has attended the group since 2018. She is a retired federal government employee, and thanks to the group, she continues to work on finishing her memoir of her mother.
I should also add, I owe a lot to Susan Tucker helping me finish with the editing and progressing with this book and saving my sanity. I'm going to I'm reading from a little bit, an excerpt from the book about when I was a child in my mom. I don't know why I was so enthralled by Dale Evans as a child. Maybe every 7-year-old girl in the United States in the 50s was. Once my family finally got a television, we watched the Roy Rogers and Dale Evans television show every week and sang Happy Trails to You with Roy and Dale at the end of the show. We probably sang it in 3-part harmony. I especially loved Roy Rogers, perhaps since Roy Rogers was a cowboy and my dad was from Texas. Perhaps I was attracted to cowboys. Oh yeah, my father's name was Roy. It could have been that simple. I knew that the other Roy rode horses and sang, and Dale Evans also sang. I didn't know the exact relationship between Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. I thought when I grew up, Roy and I would get married. I didn't realize that he was a married man already and married Dale. I doubt that I told any of my sisters about my obsession. I knew not to do that, but my mother always saw whatever was going on. One Christmas, I asked Santa Claus for a Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. No one else in the family of 6 kids asked for a cowboy or cowgirl outfit. Okay, it would have made sense if my brother, the youngest kid, had asked for a Roy Rogers outfit, but I don't remember that. Frankly, I couldn't tell you if I sent a letter to Santa, told my mother what I wanted, or dreamed up the whole idea on my own. Recently, I asked 3 sisters if they remembered the Christmas I got my Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. 2 of them did not remember. Judy, the family memory bank, said she remembered the cowgirl outfit and thought she'd seen a picture of me wearing it. Our family had rather loose Christmas traditions. Some Christmas Eves, we opened up one present and opened up the rest on Christmas Day. I remember sometimes waiting for Christmas Day to open up everything. On this particular Christmas Eve, the tree was decorated with sparkling white lights, ceramic or paper ornaments made at school, glass Christmas ornaments from Burdines, a department store in Miami, and tons of tinsel. My father liked tinsel. That night, we were allowed to open up all our gifts. We opened and we opened, and then we opened no more. It was over. I was totally traumatized, realizing that Santa had not brought my Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. I didn't know what it looked like, but nothing under the tree or in my sister's gifts looked like a Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. What was I to do? I didn't say anything to my sisters or brother. I thought maybe I'd been bad or something, and that's why my Dale Evans cowgirl outfit was not under the tree. As the youngest girl, I also would never have said anything to my older sisters about me being bad. So I sidled over to my mom and spoke to her very quietly. I think I had tears in my eyes. I have several pictures of me as a young child, and I always seemed to be on the verge of tears and looked a little scared. So let's say I had tears in my eyes. Perhaps my chin also wobbled a little. As a digression, there is a picture of me in the book as a young child with a wobbly chin. Ma, I didn't get my Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. My mother says to me, well, maybe Santa left it in your closet. My wonderful mother, why didn't I think of that? Of course, I ran to the closet that I shared with my sister Lois and my brother Rob. Hanging there was a fringe vest and skirt made for somebody just my size. No wrapping paper and no ribbons. Santa had hung up my Dale Evans cowgirl outfit. I was so happy that day. It was the best Christmas Eve ever. Do I remember exactly what happened to that phenomenal fringed Western outfit? No. Did I ever run around the holly tree in the front yard wearing my outfit while shooting the bad guys? I doubt it. That wasn't my style. How many years did I have it? Beats me. Was it thrown away or was it sent to Italy? Italy? When we were kids, my mom, who was a great humanitarian, focused on the poor and unfortunate children of Italy. She was a first-generation Italian American. 2 of her siblings were born in Italy. Every year, she would routinely go through our clothes to make up a bundle for Italy. Bundles for Italy was an official program. While the kids in Italy were not starving, apparently some child in Salerno might have needed my Dale Evans cowboy. Sometimes we objected to what my mother chose to send to Italy. But if my mother sent my cowgirl outfit to Italy, I would have been fine with that decision. I remember no tears ever associated with the cowgirl outfit after I found it.
I forgot that part was in there. I love that. Robin. Okay, up next is Quinn Zadibble. Quinn attended the writers group for a few years, starting in 2018. Okay, so I debated over and over about how to set up the order of the readers today, and I decided to set them up in order of when they started the group. And I thought I set it up properly just from my memory. And now that I'm reading these bios, I'm like, Jennifer, you didn't start until 2019? I got these all wrong. So, okay. I don't know. My memory is clearly all messed up. Quinn, yes, back to Quinn, started in 2018. They attribute some of their most important editing skills to the feedback from those who attended at that time.
Hello. Thanks to everyone involved in this. Some of you writers may know me, but since then I have changed my name. I have transitioned and have a head tattoo now, so I look a little different. So if I look a little familiar, but you can't place me, you know, it's still me. I am very honored that many people have recognized me only by the themes of this story, not only you, Sherry. This is an excerpt from my short story called Stones. It could have started with many things. It may have been the fortune cookie she received that year, stating, even small lies are still lies. It also could have been the movie she watched where the main character only told the truth and never lied. But Alyssa thought her condition was not caused by either of these. The most reasonable explanation was that it was going to happen no matter what movie she watched or cookie she ate the year she turned 24. It began with the smallest toe on her left foot. She saw discoloration, so she explored different websites for diagnoses and home remedies. She tried everything she could. She bought special socks, she soaked her feet, she changed her shoes, and yet her toe remained numb and gray. She went to the doctor, who said that their best guess was that she had poor circulation or there was a deformity in the bones causing it to callus this way. They suggested all sorts of tests to look at the inside of her foot. Where Alyssa was at this time, medical tests and visits were expensive and only available to those who could pay for them. Since it was only a little toe, she decided not to seek more treatment. As the year went on, it completely transformed until it was made of stone. She scoured the internet for anyone with similar symptoms and found nothing. For several years, the problem persisted. It moved to 3 more toes on the same foot and crept up the foot itself. When it was only in her toes, Alyssa did not notice as it happened. As the stoning started to move up her foot, though, she could sometimes feel when it occurred. Worried about the medical expenses tests would incur, she continued to avoid them. She thought it could be an allergic reaction, so she began keeping a ledger of everything she did to try to find the culprit. She changed the food she ate, her exercising habits, her hygiene products, and the types of clothes she wore. She did notice, for reasons that are unnecessary to state, Alyssa and her sister did not get along. So when her sister invited her to her wedding, Alyssa had no plans to go. She got the invitation and thought about all the drama that would happen if she marked no now. So instead, she marked yes. A week later, her sister called her as she opened the RSVP, and Alyssa felt more of her foot solidify. She realized this could be a psychological reaction. Then began what she always considered the second phase of her research, which was to track her mental health. She paid attention to her stress levels, her menstrual cycles, and mood swings. She tried meditation and other mood-leveling activities. She thought she saw some correlations, but nothing was clear. Her second breakthrough also involved her sister's wedding. One day, while driving home from work, her sister called her to discuss the wedding. When her sister outright asked her if she was sure she'd be able to get the days off, Alyssa said yes. Immediately, there was a familiar sensation at her ankle. When she hung up, she pulled over in the nearest parking lot and removed her shoe. Her heel and ankle were almost completely firm. Alyssa had been able to cope easily enough up until then. She had not been wearing sandals for years now, and all of her shoes covered her feet. On the occasions when she was invited to swim, she either did not swim or would bring shoes meant to wear in the water. These types of events seemed to worsen her condition, so she generally tried to skip them. She found that her new parts were stable and not fragile. Once, she carved her initial into the top of her foot, and it stayed for a while, fading and then eventually disappearing altogether. Looking at her feet in the car, she realized soon socks wouldn't hide her deformity. She thought about the conversation with her sister and decided it must be something about the people she talked to. She began to track her conversations and what effect they had on her. This was what she considered to be the third stage of her research, interactions. She did this for a couple years and proved what was causing the solidification of her body. It was lies. When she confirmed this truth, she was almost 30 years old, and her left leg below the knee was completely transformed. This brought her to the final stage of research, how to cope. The first change Alyssa made was to stop answering small, petty inquiries with small, petty lies. She could not afford to give a fake reason for taking days off or missing a party. She found curiously that her word choice mattered. If she didn't want to go to an event after work, instead of saying, "I'm sorry, I have to meet a friend," which is a lie, she would have to say, "Sorry, I'm cooking dinner tonight," or "Sorry, my drive home is 25 minutes and I'm trying to go to the gym." Whatever she could say, thank you, testing. Whatever she could say that was true, so much better, she would say. It helped to use phrases like try to or meaning to, whether she was answering an email or talking face to face. When she couldn't, simply not answering was the best option. This was difficult as people would ask her why she wore pants or if she didn't like to swim. She had go-to answers for these types of questions. Honesty was the best policy and brevity was certainly her friend. "I'm not comfortable with my legs," she would say. Of course, this did not placate people who would tell her not to be self-conscious. She would smile and nod and say thank you, choosing her words carefully. She started to see herself as a lawyer, trying to play people with her technically true words. Someone would ask her if she liked their haircut, and if she didn't like it, she would have to respond with, "Oh yeah, it's shorter. Where did you get it done? I love getting my hair cut." She would try to leave as soon as possible before they asked her again if she liked it. She became the queen of generic answers. "Do you like my outfit? Girl, you rock what you got. Did you finish those reports? I looked at them and plan to message you with my thoughts later." These and other such conversations were a staple for her. Yet still, it took considerable energy to always pay attention to what she said. And over the next decade, though she put in substantial effort, her leg was totally taken over. Thank you.
The rest of that story is really good. You'll just have to read it in the anthology.
You know where to find it.
Okay, Tom, you're on deck. Okay, up next is Robin. Prior to 2020, Robin Papone only had one poem printed in her high school Spock fan club newsletter. She joined the Light Street Writers Exchange during the pandemic and has received much encouragement for her in-progress autofiction and poems. Robin?
I'm going to read 3 poems. The first one is not. Oh, thank you. The first one is not in the book. It's called Leitmotif. I sat mesmerized, flanked on all sides by smooth sounds, teleporting me to a timeless realm. But then the piano player made eyes at me. Oh no, not I. I am too wise, you see. I remember the times the gypsy in me walked through the fire of flirtatious floutings and slow simmering boleros and got burned. Easy to be drawn in by each breath of the sexy sax man or the crumpet of a trumpeter who raises his instrument on a steep climb to the firmament. With fingers faster than lightning and more blow than toot, their hot air steams up the atmosphere, but only for a little while. Who can encounter with immunity the steady driving beat of a give the drummer some stick man with symbolic impressions grooved by greetings that conjure you to hit the skins with him? Beware, most, those that pluck strings with a frightening fury, challenging even devil or angel orchestral oratorios. Then pluck becomes a 4-letter word. Overwhelmed heartstrings pop under the pressure of adue dodgers who spit spiccatos as they beat a retreat. Before you take a stand to take Mike at his word, understand he begins each set with tasting, 1, 2, 3, and later decrescendos with read my lips as I scat to the next gig. The virtuoso's every note is a flirtation, with a crowd hypnotized by snake-charming wielders of the power of the melody and the rhythm. There is persuasion in the sway. Consider that the composer of love songs plays them for thousands who drink him in and feed his amour propre, while he consumes their souls. For superstar soloists, being faithful to one is unnatural. But if perchance one finds you, though muse of use you may be, never forget, music will always be his mistress. Peru. I'm trying to learn Spanish. I perch, eagle-like, atop the hill, overlooking the man and woman-made condor-shaped structure below. Humanity and nature intertwine spiritually, creating new wonders, old secrets of survival. Mountains wearing green velvet, the gold sun once worshipped as if among us, now far away, contemplating abandonment. Still, Pachamama watches over us all. Sacred pushing river at the Ollante Tambo, the waters and the mud overflowing. The cups of the people are seldom filled, yet the people come together to fill each other, to build each other, as their Incan ancestors built edifices that required no glue or cement to remain solid and stoic for centuries. My computer seems to have frozen. Okay. Sorry, no, I'm frozen. Okay, sorry. I went to Saksi Woman and felt young compared to the ancient stones, impenetrable, indivisible. I went to the valley. I spoke to the valley, and the mountains said, "Come dance with us." So we danced the marinara, sheltered behind the sombrero-like shade. I awaited a kiss from the sun. This is the first one. Nobody gonna cramp my style. I danced out of the womb in the boogie down Bronx, but I sat catting like satin in Manhattan. I hung out from the Heights over to the Barrio and downtown to Soho. The city is mine, every rhythm, every rhyme. Walk to the beat of hip hop, clip clop. Past the calls of mommy, mommy. Street vendors in Harlem sing money, honey. Sweet jazz and Retha refrains in the land where ghosts of Malcolm and Panthers remain. Downtown, riding the crowd, drivers all loud where no taxis allowed. I'm doing run, walk, squeeze, run, walk, squeeze. Like a heated atom, I run through the heart of Manhattan, just as smooth as I please. En route, no time to look cute. Better stand on the corner in the park if you want to strike a pose. Take a breath in the village, all leather and fringe, coffee out of the park or vegetarian inn. Sometimes I ride with my cowgirl's game face on. Don't miss a beat. Slide into that seat before the former occupant is even standing. Over shoulder views of the daily news, shift workers and crack bodies carrying the weight of the blues. Whether I'm a pro in electric blue hip hop boots, or dripping out windows throwing shade or hoots, or jewel box review revered, or stepping out of a Lincoln in a floor-length mink hoodie, drinking champagne, or a gypsy, hoofing up the street from Decatur Street, catching a chili dog on the way to the theater. I'm an NYC girl on top of the world, within a world that will always stand in awe of a city that never sits still. Dance to the music forever. Thank you. Victoria, yeah.
Tom Hawkins. It's funny, the next two readers are people I've known for probably 5-ish years, and I've only finally met them in person today. Tom Hawkins is a writer and artist based in Maryland. His stories have appeared or are scheduled to appear in Always Crashing, a Pushcart Prize nominee, Encephalon Journal, Excuse Me magazine, and many more. Tom participated in the group from 2022 to 2025 when he started a PhD program in some brainy mathy thing, stopped coding.
Sure if I need this or if I can just shout in the library. I have a couple poems that are on page 17 of the anthology. Feel free to read along out loud as I read something else. This just came in over the library fax machine. It's a transcript of a meeting that happened at the Central Branch just this morning. The subcommittee for the inclusion of ears. Point of order. Are ears part of the face? The chairperson posed, leaning forward in their chair. Yes, Bill mumbled while doodling a self-portrait, half ears and chin. No, insisted Susan. Ears aren't included in facial recognition models. If I cut off my ears, Herman asked, will my iPhone still let me in? The ear, nose, and throat are all one specialist, Paul said. Anatomically, they're all connected. If I say she has a pretty face, I'm not thinking of her ears, scoffed Roger, rolling his eyes. Maria, next to him, blushed. They're part of my face, but not my face. And face off, they don't switch ears, shouted Max from the back. But someone would look right with different ears, muttered Sally up front. Herman, with no hair, said his face lacked a seam to divide his ears from his face. Betty, with jangly earrings, said yes, but Sarah, with hoops, said no. The drawings I recall of faces with ears were of elves, Robert said, as if that settled the matter for all. Thank you.
I wish you'd come back just to give us a laugh every week. Otis, you're on deck. Victoria. Victoria's son attended the group from 2022 to 2024. In her free time, Victoria writes and creates art that explores her identity as a Korean American and the broader immigrant experience. She's also leaving us to go do a brainy thing. She will be a master's student this fall in information at the University of Michigan. Go blue, as my husband would require me to say. Well, I'm probably going to be leaving in a few weeks, I would imagine.
Hi, thank you so much, Laura and the Pratt Library Exchange. I joined this during kind of like in the end of the pandemic, and it's been a really good group. So if anybody is interested in joining, please. So I'm reading one poem. This is back about my experience when I was in high school. So I grew up in a suburb in Ohio. I was kind of almost like the only Asian in my class. So this is a little bit about my experience with that, weaved together with my grandfather's experience immigrating here with his family in the 1980s. On Beloved. And she takes her daughter's life into her own, only a babe. All of my white classmates look in horror as they read the scene unfolding in front of them. They did not understand the decision, the reason as to why she murdered her own. I did not understand either. And yet, her words shook my bones, shattered the whiteness in me. I remembered my grandfather's words as he gathered his children. They sat with him, not knowing what's to come. The car lights, the only barrier between them and the surrounding deaths. Quiet, unassuming, he drives on. No one knows. No one knows. He turns, drives off, hands grab skin, grab fabric, grab plastic. Why don't we end it all now? What do you think about that? Surely the darkness will welcome them, rest their fatigue and tears and bury them, my little ones. He grips the wheel, eyes clear as day. Yes, this is merciful. My hands that brought them here. How tattered we are, how thin we are, how beyond help we are. What else is there? Who else is there to deliver them? Yes, this is mercy. Yes, this is rest. Yes, this is all. My eyes flash back to the page. I turn to the white faces, eyes wide but soft. Eyes that only know pillows and cushions, eating soup from their mothers. Eyes that only know honey and milk, crying for their mother, crying. Thank you.
AB, you're on deck. Uh, Highlights of Otis Sproul's poetry career include numerous publications. He was also the introductory poet for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and a featured poet for the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. He has been a member of the Light Street Writers Exchange for the last 4 years. Otis.
Okay, you're going to see how this works here. In the book, I have 2 poems. The first is on page 23. And the title is Icarus Didn't Know. Icarus had a good idea, or so it seemed at the time. But there were things he forgot or didn't know, like how do you keep wax cold or cold enough? Another thing is bringing enough water. I mean, although the sun is a long ways off, it extracts a toll. Same with the pesky wind. And if he was going out over the seamless sea, he should have thought to bring an atlas. He should have thought to bring waterways. So many things to think of when planning a long distance trip. And how would he take a pee? I mean, do you just let it fly and then yell out, look out below? These things must be thought through before there is ever the start. In the end, perhaps all that is important is that he tried. He will be remembered. The next one is on page 49, which I consider to be an anti-violence poem. I wrote it a while ago. Hear the lost. There is the one heart, overtly torn. The 5 hearts roughly set down in a manner that they scrape. The 10 hearts dragged amongst the rubble. To this end, do any of these numbers matter? There is rarely a thing such as a distinctly tormented heart. There are the 1,000 cuts which crisscross like scissors, the 10,000 moans which were the last barely heard, the 1,000,000 sighs laced into the lips of lamentations for what is now gone. Numbers with these things are in hallowed abattoirs. Those are slaughterhouses. Put your hands into the earth, that you may dig and sing, to bring forth Obad. That's the praise of morning. How does it feel when the names of those precious to you no longer find your ears? When bombs are loosed from great height, there are those who are indifferent to the staccato screams. They are tone deaf and stripped of a soul in the mind.
About Otis and Aldrin is that they have two extra poems in the anthology that they wrote together. And they actually met thanks to the Writers Exchange. So,
Yeah.
are you guys going to read one together?
You have.
I didn't, I have the links up there. I guess I'll decide when I'm up there.
Okay. Well, up next is Aldrin Bataloa, him. He is a Filipino poet that has participated in the group since 2023. A Best of the Net nominee. His works are published in the Hopkins Review, Astor Lit, and elsewhere.
The first piece is, I believe it is 21. Okay. Guide to Being a Father. In the snowstorm, I learned to hold myself earnestly with rough palms and call it something more than love. Here is where we learn to laugh again. Say we pray in the morning. Say morning is more than present tense. We are the sons of fathers, damn weak and vulnerable. Being a boy, unfurling and violent, is patrilineal, forever broken skies, sons of a wound, sons of worship, sons, then father. Father, I eulogize my love by carving myself in the snowstorm. Instead of reading one of the collab pieces, even though I love them, I'm going to read a monologue that I worked on with the group, I think last month. It's Judas Iscariot Goes to Therapy. My father looked at me when I saw him in his coffin. John, I see you writing that down in your little notebook. I'm not going nuts. Stop writing. Just listen to me. I promise. He looked at me. He opened his two dead eyes. You know what a dead man's eyes look like, John? They're terrifying. His cornea, it sort of melted into the rest of his eye like an egg, but I could tell he looked in my direction. John, if I see you writing that goddamn notebook again, don't Mr. Iscariot me. Okay, let me take a second. I think it's because I pulled his plug. I was with him in the hospital. It was a month after he turned 86. He got into a car crash. I'd never seen a man begging to stay as much as he was. It was all, Jude, my son, you know I love you, I love you. I couldn't handle his annoying nagging, right? So I put the plug on his ventilator. You know, I never heard a human gasp as much as he did. He wheezed until he flatlined. And I knew it wasn't until me, and he grappled his left hand under my shirt. And I knew it wasn't until me something. He looked down at his chest as if he'd been shot before resting his head on the back of the hospital bed. But his left hand stayed there for 2 minutes until I stopped crying and had to wipe my face. John, I accidentally looked at him, and the sight of a man drained of air hasn't left my mind since. That night, I went to the club and got shit-faced. This smoking hot businessman in a tight red suit and tie came over and started flirting with me. He asked if I was alone, and I started bawling my eyes out there, and this shithead started rubbing my shoulder and pushed my chin up to see his face, and he had this look on his face as if he pitied me. He told me about how he'd been alone for years. I asked him why, and he said no one else is worth it. And I argued with him because I don't know if I agree with him or if I disagree. I argued with him, and then he kissed me, and then nothing else that night mattered. I woke up the morning after, and I saw my father grasping at my shirt again, but this time, he's looking directly at me. He's looking at me and saying, you'll burn in hell for doing this. And the worst part is that I feel guilty. Like every time I see a man that looks like him, I tear up, but not really mourn. Is it a bad thing to say? He left me something in his will. From Jesse for Jude, I give my 30 pieces of silver. Isn't it funny how the worst things we do are the things we do to ourselves? You know, I went to his grave again yesterday. I saw a little girl across the graveyard, and she made this little paper flower over her dead father. I tried doing the same fold as she did, but every fold was a futile mimicry of her mourning. So I left all the paper half folded on my father's grave. John, listen, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, whether I'm guilty or mourning, or maybe I'm even both. My father's dead, but I'm still cracking my head open over this. Maybe if I didn't pull the plug, my father would have died in minutes, regardless of whether I pulled the plug or not. But I do know that all I have left of him are these silver pieces. Maybe that's all I deserve. What if I can get away with it? I can read on the clock poems. This one is on 33. It's one of my favorites I've written because Otis is a very good creative partner. It is titled Cast Hard in the Mold. I dress myself in my father's black suit, its labels adorned with dragons. My youngest son runs past me. In his hand, a paintbrush dripping with red. What will I do with this boy? I murmur to myself as my phone rings. If I just huff and puff, can I make this all go away? Is it that I can only see red? I should be able to see more. I've heard there is such a thing as green. To see it, I must turn slowly to include all my environs. Then I look out the window and take it all in. The cedar trees, the fresh bird droppings as it streaks the glass, the ferns as they travel through our garden, and the gravestone underneath it all. My oldest son sits behind the granite and marble memory of his grandfather. I wonder what he thinks about the gravestone, the ferns, the bird droppings, the cedar trees, the way he is destined to become exactly like me. These things run so dear. It is clear there is a reason we have always resembled each other. No weight was ever heavier than could not be found. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy and all.
More that we all do.
Oh, well, I think you guys have had your, sorry. Up next is Madeline Schneider. Madeline is an author of fiction and creative nonfiction. She has I keep encouraging her to tell us that one hilarious story about her honeymoon. Anyway, her work has been published in Artists from Maryland and As You Were. She has been attending the Light Street Writers Exchange since 2024.
So I'll be reading the prologue from the novel I was working on when I first joined the group. The novel is titled Excellent Gifts, Horrible Parties. The noise that emanates from my throat is primal, unfamiliar, terrifying. I barely feel the metal pole clenched inside my frozen fingers, but the solidness of his body as the weapon makes contact is unmistakable. It shocks me. My brain hasn't caught up to the surge of adrenaline. It doesn't understand why my hands are numbly stinging from the impact of the swing, why my legs are uncoiling, adding force to my rotating body. And then my elbows spring back. I release the pole and my fingers clasp into tight fists. The wind steals my scream. Jared lets out a grunt, his right arm pinwheeling as his umbrella releases into the air. It wasn't even a hard hit, not enough to bruise. I'd never been much of an athlete, but he's off balance. He throws his other arm backward, aiming for the railing. For a moment, I think he will catch himself. I know I can't outrun him. I know the swing was my only chance. But he's drunk and the metal bleachers are wet. They're starting to ice over. His outstretched fingers miss the railing by several inches. The anger in his eyes switches to fear a split second after gravity takes hold. His body twists over the railing, head first, tumbling toward the asphalt. Distantly, I hear a scream, high-pitched, not Jared's. Someone else out here? And then I hear Jared too, but it isn't his voice. He never utters a sound. Despite the sleet and the wind and the pounding in my ears, I hear a crack as his body hits the pavement. My stomach lurches and my hand flies to my mouth. Oh God. I inch toward the edge, clawing my hands around the railing. Below me, Jared's dark form is still. There's another high-pitched scream, and a shape materializes from the side of the school. What is happening? My brain finally catches up to the moment, and I know I have to get off the bleachers. I have to get away from the body. Is it a body? Why am I calling it a body? He could be okay. He's probably okay. I back away from the railing, my wrist pulsing where Jared had been grabbing me just moments before. I spin around, running to the center of the bleachers and taking the steps two at a time. My death grip on the railing is just barely enough to keep me from tumbling in a similar manner to Jared. Even so, my shoes skid out on the last step. I collide with the fence lining the sports field. My breath releases in one giant wheezing puff. I push away, forcing myself to run without air. A thin layer of sleet turns my sprint into a panicked skate as I race onto the field and then across the parking lot. By the time I make it to my van, I've fallen 6 times and my jacket is covered in mud. Pull yourself together, Alice. You didn't do anything. No one knows you did anything. I yank the van's driver's side open, throw myself in, and wrench it shut. Crumpling into myself, I drop my head between my legs. 10 seconds. Take 10 seconds. 10. I watch a water droplet roll to the edge of my jacket before dripping to my feet. 9. An old, well-worn book, one of my favorites from high school, sticks out from under the driver's seat. 8. The cover displays dripping, blood-colored letters. Red rum. The book taunts me with its murderous claims. Not a murderer, not a monster. I shove the book further under the seat with the heel of my boot. Keep counting. 7, 6. I know I have to get back to the school. By now the reunion is over, and Minnie will be looking for me. Minnie, what will I tell my sister? I bring my head up and stop pretending a countdown will work. I grab the only thing which might actually help, a nearly empty pack of cigarettes. The cardboard is wet, despite being in my pocket, but I managed to light one. Cigarettes, of course. That's why I'm out here. That's why I'm not inside with everyone else. It's shaky, but it's an alibi. I throw the nearly empty pack into the passenger seat and fish out a replacement for my glove box. Under the carton is a cheap plastic lighter. The weight of it feels unfamiliar in my hand, but my trusty Star Moon Zippo is lost somewhere in the bleachers. In the bleachers, in the snow, Jared's body next to the bleachers, Jared dying. Shut up, shut up. I slam the glove box, pull down the sun visor, and open the mirror. My eyes look panicked, and I force a smile. The creases around them wrinkle. You're fine, everything is fine. I try again, compelling the smile to grow, willing myself to think about something other than the sound of Jared's head cracking open. I look at my gum line, crooked, something I'd hated in high school. Gum lines are a safe topic. I let my smile drop. Everything will be okay, I just need to recenter. I shimmy out of my soaked raincoat and toss it over the headrest. The bomber jacket I'm wearing underneath is slightly damp, but at least it's not muddy. I take another drag of my cigarette and watch the smoke trail in front of the visor mirror. No one will know what happened. But what if Jared is alive? But what if he's really dead?
Thank you, Madeline. Okay. Alyssa, you're on deck. Up next is Kevin Anderson. His inspiration to write poetry came from his big brother, a writer, and his grandmother, a librarian. It has been nearly 2 years since he joined the writers group. Oh, that's it.
Hopefully you'll feel the same way afterwards. I don't know why life was so short. But and I didn't realize it had been 2 years since I been in the group. But I'll definitely say the group has helped me to write some poems that have been knocking around my head for 30 years. And that I had never had the discipline to sit down to work with. So I highly recommend anybody to find a group like that or even this one. They definitely make me better. This first poem is called She Turned 17 This Year. It's about my oldest daughter, Olivia. Oops, probably wouldn't want me to say that. She turned 17 this year. The drastic transformation, ultimately harmless, a shell left behind of who she used to be. From upstairs, the steady drone of a phone conversation fades into the night. The same cell rings unanswered on a walk to the store, through the woods, across the rocky stream to the abandoned playground. Sleepover friend and little sister add to the unease of the imagined worse possible outcome. Relief at the muddy creek cross shoes after safely returning home. Headphone necklace, blank stare, the only response to the chewing out. Never knowing when and never prepared for it, she appears, fully present, taking the spotlight, shocking all, sometimes with delight, sometimes without, taking all the oxygen out of the room with a comment. You can't turn your eyes away from her. This year has turned a corner. The girl I used to know returning from exile. An adult with her own mind. First job, lifeguarding, taking seriously saving lives. Diving deep and rising up is the one I love and remember. The second one is about a friend of mine from college. It's called Perfectly Frank. To be perfectly frank takes a certain sense of the bizarre, an acceptance of the twilight zone as a stop on your daily commute, the ability to take the firebombing of your house in stride, to suffer slings of slander as a matter of course, to be the proverbial Black Russian in the landlocked West End. To be perfectly frank takes a peculiar view of authority. Rebellion and justice must go hand in hand. You must walk in front of oncoming Mack trucks because you have the right of way. The ability to incense authority figures just by being you must come naturally. To be perfectly frank is to be undaunted by the overwhelming odds. Like a Texas Ranger chasing the bandits who have a 2-day lead, no public bus is too great a challenge to run down. No cultural faux pas too heinous for your mastery of understatement to comment upon graciously. To be perfectly frank takes seeing beyond what other people see. It takes looking at an old weather-beaten antique, seeing the joy it could bring someone else. It's adding those touches that are so perfectly frank. A bar of silver for a dowry-less bride. A scroll from a chest for a wedding vow. A thoughtful note so encouraging that you keep it till it's ragged and yellow. To be perfectly frank has its risks. Saving whales, boycotting, protesting, marching, being kidnapped, knife under your pillow, and Madame Defarge at your door. To be perfectly frank means a voracious hunger for soulmates, plumbing the depths of friendship from idealized fictions to laying your life down for your brothers, pushing your limits till you have a cognitive map of your relationships or until someone pushes back. To be perfectly frank means your voice gurgles from deep in your toes, rushes up to the joints of your body like blood pumped to every cell, passing through your heart so it comes from the right place, emerging with truth to honor those deserving of it, and amazing any and all who are privileged to be weird, to be near. Golly, I didn't know Frank could sing. To be perfectly frank takes a heart of tarnished gold that only shines when you get close. A booming laugh that would make Jeffrey Holder envious. Talent spilling out of every pore and love the world knows nothing about. Thank you.
Next is Alyssa Gordon. She is published in various journals, including 2019 Beta Ocean, the year's best writing from the Eastern Shore Writers Association, Windmills, and Shot Glass Journal. Inspired by the high caliber of writing and virtual camaraderie at the Light Street Writers Exchange, she's attended since 2024.
Can you all hear me okay? I'm
Yes.
gonna try it without that. This piece started with a photograph that I took in Lisbon, Portugal last April, my first visit there. We are the gibbous moon. We look different as we orbit each other, check each other's calendars, figure our percentages. Don't tell me again how equinox means equal night. You are my longer day. I am your shorter night. And that day in Lisbon, I saw you waxing gibbous, high in the 8 p.m. sky, above the trees. You had me upside down and golden. And we each had the edge, a refraction, each other's geometric center. And this next is an excerpt. Short answer, an emergency contact found fiction. I'm skipping name and I'm going to go right to relationship. Relationship to you. Strained. I mean, there's been some self-loathing going on lately because I don't seem to be managing things very well on the home front. Being single with no other responsibilities, interruptions, or things tugging at you, there's really no excuse, is there? And frankly, writing this here takes about the same amount of time and energy as a 5-minute tidy up, doesn't it? And yet here I am venting, just scribbling away. I forgot this was supposed to be a short answer. Street address. Do you know, I still have to fight that first reflex to give my old address. It's been 8 years since I moved. No, 9. No, wait, when was 2015? That's my Joey Tribbiani from Friends impression. I also still start to say I am putting the plants on the balcony instead of on the screen porch. I was on the 2nd floor and had a balcony that was nice and deep. You could sit out there in the rain and never get wet. I had a table and 2 chairs, window boxes and hanging baskets, planters of herbs and tomatoes. I had a screen door. Occasionally, I had lovely dreams that I had a ground floor terrace with large square terracotta tiles and a garden. And only one terrifying dream where a clown in full makeup hoisted himself up the fire escape at the end of my balcony, his face just beginning to clear the metal platform. I must have seen a promotion for that John Wayne Gacy movie. That and the memory of my boyfriend climbing up to knock on the balcony door when I was taking too long to come down and answer the front door for an evening out. I tried to shake off the clown terror by replacing it with the image of the actor in his role in the Western Silverado. Brian Dennehy had a swagger, and I love beards. Once, a friend and I co-hosted a movie night. It was when the remake of The Magnificent Seven came out. I had never seen it and thought it would be fun to see the original. The guys certainly couldn't have accused us of choosing a chick flick. I curled up on the couch with one of my favorite group members, Roxy, and she and I were enjoying the cast. The acting was stellar, but we were as giggly as schoolgirls. I like curly hair. Oh, me too. And I love beards. My co-host popped in from the kitchen where he was opening and pouring beers and said, I have curly hair and a beard, giving me a wounded look. We had been spending some time together. I wasn't interested in him. And besides, he talked about his evenings out with other women. He was too young for me at 38, but by number, yes, but more by his behavior, though he's a perfect gentleman with me. Oh, no, I said, it's too late for that. You have put us squarely in the friend zone. Staring straight ahead and smiling, Roxy pinched me. I forgot this is supposed to be a short answer. Email. I couldn't be bothered to change it and update it, and at one point I feared it showed my age or my unhipness, and just let the world, excuse me. But then eventually the big one with the tones to signal you've gotten mail became a dinosaur too. I'd just let the world know you were paying more for a service that most people had free or for less. The platform I used was just terrible at controlling junk mail and spam, but at least they didn't make you give them a lot of personal information at every turn. Did you know Amazon had opened some brick and mortar stores? They did. And there were no prices. They designed their labels so that you could simply scan a barcode on the item. By doing so, you implicitly agreed to give them access to your shopping history. It reminded me of Harrison Bergeron, or that short story about the man who wants to take his nephew to a Broadway show. But he has to agree to watch commercials sent to him on a chip or his glasses or brain, I don't remember. And he won't watch them. So they hunt him down and find him, something like that. I think it was set in the future. I just Googled it. The story is My Flamboyant Grandson by George Saunders. And it was at the top of a top 20 list of short stories that show you how to write, including Kurt Vonnegut's Harrison Bergeron. How spot on was I? Anyway, I've kept my original email. Oops, I forgot. It's supposed to be a short answer.
So, Shanita, you're on deck. Ellie, did you want the mic? Okay. Ellie Flock, a storyteller from childhood, resides in Riverside, basically here in the neighborhood, with her husband and a tuxedo cat. She has participated in the group since 2024.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'll be reading the first scene from my short story that's included in the anthology. It's a work of speculative fiction. I started writing this about 10 years ago, so thanks so much to the group for the encouragement to finish it, and then thank you for the inclusion in the anthology as well. It's called Mosaics My Spa. Catherine sat on a sofa the color of a cloudless sky around Easter. Since her last visit, the carpets have been replaced and the walls, once a blank beige, repainted a week in watery blue. The entire southern wall had been made into a window, so the office seemed to rest above the inner harbor. In the waiting room, half full of people and flooded with early spring sunlight, the profile of patients had also changed, or clients, as the intake, insurance, and liability forms at the check-in desk now refer to them. 3 decades ago, the first visit that Catherine could remember, there was an intense sense of relief, even rapture, that filled the waiting room, as if every patient were a lucky lotto winner. They were then fertility treatment seekers like herself, or the vast majority there for sickle cell gene therapy or other diseases of chronic susceptibility that could only be unwrought by this miraculous advance of science and medicine. Catherine waited in the pale blue room, considering the art hanging on the walls, which was reminiscent of O'Keeffe if she had turned her palette and meditations to the careful curves of craniums and cerebrums. Each flower bloomed a brain, a neural network spun from ivy vines. Alternating between the art were ads to alter eye colors, to deep greens, rare purples. A poster proposed treatment, non-invasive, to sharpen and strengthen the jawline, reduce rosacea, increase muscle tone. All the advertisement models looked like clones, color their only variation. The other women in the waiting room also looked the same. Catherine smoothed her silver-rooted hair and considered another application of lipstick. Hi, Catherine. A thin woman with a clipboard had appeared above her. causing Catherine to jump slightly. Apologies for the wait to see Dr. Latona. She's just wrapping up a key donor meeting and will be with you shortly. Considering your history with the clinic, or spa, rather, or the spa and its history as a clinic, I did want to show that we are considerate of your time and, of course, your contributions to Dr. Latona's work. I mean, the medical Dr. Latona's work and your legacy at the clinic. Yes, I have some time. Catherine was slightly alarmed by the woman's direct eye contact, standing a little too close and so tall that she bent her head as though addressing a child. Thank you, she included after another moment's pause. Somewhere out of sight of the chic waiting room, fluorescent lights buzzed. The woman stared at her for a few seconds without speaking, her face still angled, then said, I'm Florian, the current Dr. Latona's executive assistant, specializing, of course, in public relations. I'm so impressed by you and pleased to meet you. I mean, your story is just so powerful, survival and healing and motherhood. I'm so honored to meet you. Do you mean the work you did here? Yes, I've been following some of the changes and She looked around the waiting room to see who could overhear while deciding how firmly to articulate her point to this Florian. Florian's eyes widened to scan her periphery, her smile not faltering, but tension flitting across her elongated neck. The woman seated next to Catherine was unfazed, bowing her head to the music in her large overhead earphones while flipping through a portfolio of hairlines, her own under eyes purple and healing under a nasal splint. Catherine began again. I can see there have been some changes, and while I understand the current situation makes things difficult, she said with edged teeth, I didn't expect the clinic to abandon its work. I mean, what kind of leadership statement and what kind of integrity? Well, maybe I should wait to speak with Stephanie. She rubbed at the sore joints of her fingers, avoiding eye contact. Tears pricked at the corner of her eyes. The girl in the headphones looked up. Catherine took in a deep breath to continue, but Florian interrupted. I've just come to lead you into Dr. Latona's office while you wait. Satisfied with herself, her smile returned. Florian was halfway across the waiting room before realizing that Catherine was still working to lift herself off the sofa. Florian lurched back to offer a hand, which Catherine waved away, finally fully upright. Walking through sets of doors and a long, brightly white hallway, Catherine resented her false start. She had been planning what to say to the new Dr. Latona, her Dr. Latona, for weeks while this appointment was scheduled, rescheduled again. She'd gone through her past journals, the light, oddly slanted handwriting from her first visit as a teenager, the one she had no memories of, the long, lush musings that poured out from her during her fertility treatment stay, the collection of op-eds and speeches from her reluctant time as an advocate in our South. She had reviewed the Mosaic Mind Spa's website, deceptively slick and cool, as though selling metallic, streamlined computers, the kind where it'd take her 10 minutes of fumbling to even locate the discrete indent of a power button. The website had no photos, the history section deleted, wiping away any legacy and impact that Florian now praised. That story of science and healing now recessed to some vague promise of easy, painless beauty. The office held framed photos she recognized from Dr. Latona's office, accepting the Nobel Prize, the first page of her landmark science paper, and a photo of Catherine herself testifying at Congress, headline reading, Jean Doe testifies in support of genetic therapies. All of this success and joy secreted behind layers of doors. Well, we're so proud of your work and contributions made by the clinic, and of course yourself. Why, our pioneer, our two-time pioneer. With this, Florian's white grin widened from her seat behind the desk. Her smile stretched, maybe attempting to translate as gratitude or admiration. Ah, Catherine, I see you've met my Florian, my wonderful promoter. Thank you so much for waiting. It's so good to see you again, Dr. Stephanie Latona called, walking into the office and grabbing Catherine's hand. Please, don't get up. How are you? Catherine was uncomfortable with their contact. I'm fine. Thank you for meeting. I had a few things to discuss. And your daughter? She's a few years younger than me. How is she? We're so proud to have her as a part of our story, too. Dr. Latona released her palm, rounding the desk and taking a seat. She wore a lab coat and clear framed glasses, her nails and lips a matching red. Florian perched herself atop a filing cabinet, her head swiveling bird-like between the two women. Yes, Vesta is doing well, wonderfully. She just had a baby girl herself, Kate. Incredible, wonderful, a growing family. The story continues. Well, I'd have her come in for a genetic markup, but we're not quite offering that anymore. I know it must be painful to not have the chance to keep contributing to the research with each generation. Dr. Latona paused and looked to Florian, who jumped in. Further data collection is just too big a risk to accommodate at this time. We offer boutique options, cosmetic really, barely even on the radar for regulations now. We just had to adapt to do what we needed to adapt and survive, Stephanie said, and raised her palms to the air as in unseen surrender. Our work has wonderful outcomes for mental health, and we're even seeing positive effects on patient employability. While different from previous work, we can show the impact of our continued services here at Mosaic Spine Spa. Florian delivered the practice line as though rehearsed for a news hour rather than a real conversation with a former patient and close friend of the deceased scientist whose clinic changed her life and the lives of so many. I can't help but feel this is a betrayal. Yes, to patients like me and my family, but also your mother. We stood up against this. My mother, Dr. Latona, said, "You know, I called this a spa, not just for legal reasons, but because those are most of my memories of her. Once a month, or every other month, or at least a few times a year, her smile gone. We'd get our nails done. She flashed her own manicure. I thought, well, what I could preserve, I'd preserve those few memories of her and of what work we could. Anyways, mindful of the time, you want to know how far my mother's team had come in terms of the stop codon reversal?" Catherine nodded without agreeing. While some progress was made to extend genetic sequences for the purpose of extending longevity, unfortunately, the work halted about 5 years ago. It was hard to maintain momentum in my mother's absence, and then impossible in the face of current context. Some of the researchers were able to move to Scandinavia. The work might have continued there, Florian added, an effective dismissal.
All right. Shanita Andrews started attending the Light Street Writers Exchange in 2025, but has been a patron of the Enoch Pratt Free Library since childhood. She hopes her words will give someone peace, a smile, an idea, or a small comfort, just as the words of so many have given her.
Thank everybody for this opportunity. As Laura said, I joined in March actually of this year. Oh, you can't hear? Is this better? Yeah. I joined in March of this year on a whim. I literally looked for writing groups on a Monday evening, and it was the first Monday of the month. And I said, oh, hey, they're meeting at 6 o'clock. And so I got a lift and came down, and here I am today. So it worked out really well. And I was really appreciative because hearing everybody's stories is what gave me the permission to finally call myself a writer. Even though, you know, I've been writing for years, it's like, you know, okay, I can join people and hear their stories and then share my own. So I really appreciate this. I have a very short poem. It was written in grief, very sudden grief. And it's called Thursday. I went outside today and found that the sun had the audacity to set. How dare time move on, as if he didn't vanish from our lives, as if wife, family, friends aren't frozen in shock, struck with grief, trapped in rage, as if laughing at our foolishness, forgetting that there is only one luminary, and our light is dim, finite, extinguished in an instant. So bewildered, we sit in the dark.
All right, I'm the last reader. And I'm just going to read one quick chapter from my work in progress. I've already talked a lot about myself, but in addition to being a librarian here and moderating the Writers Exchange, I have published in Sauce Magazine, Strongly Worded Women, which is an anthology, Northern Virginia Magazine, and Sex and Violins, which is also an anthology, very different from our anthology. Okay, this is from my novel titled Set Your Cap. Like I said, it's a work in progress. And those of you that have been coming to the group have heard this, so sorry for repeating for those of you who've heard this a few times. Chapter 1. I have killed 10% of my sexual partners. I'm not a murderer, but I am cursed. Men come near me and end up injured. Broken toes, stitches, bruised shins, a torn ACL. Although none as devastating as Ed. We'd been dating about 3 months, still in the honeymoon phase, and we spent most nights together at either his place or mine. He preferred mine, and of course, that's where he died. No one could have predicted this tragedy. At 37, Ed, 10 years older than I, was healthy. He ate right, exercised. People, even his own mother, remind me it wasn't my fault and that he died doing something, someone he loved. Is that crude? It's factual, but I suppose facts can be crude. We'd had a lovely, relaxing brunch, a hike at Sugarloaf Mountain, stopped at a winery. Ed wanted to grill steaks for dinner, so we did a grocery run. Just a normal Sunday. It was my fault. I'd become too comfortable. 3 months in, and Ed remained injury-free. A record for me. And I've had relationships last longer than 3 months, much longer. But this was the first adult relationship that went more than 90 days with no mishaps. Ed knew all the stories. Telling them had become one of the things I wanted men to know before we even went on a first date. Ed's favorite was about the guys who took me, the guy who took me to a Nationals game and got hit in the head by a ball. There's a 1 in 840 chance of catching a foul ball at a baseball game, unless you're with Lucia Barnes. Then it's a 1 in 3 chance, all resulting in a bruise. Yes, I've had 3 dates at baseball games, and each ended when my date went for a foul ball and failed. Ed and I had a little celebration on our 3-month anniversary. Ed even gave me a small gift. This relationship is 90 days injury-free sign. As an airplane mechanic, he was familiar with those types of workplace signs and cracked himself up when he gave it to me. We made it 97 days without even so much as a paper cut until that night. After the hospital, the funeral, and the grief, I swore off dating. Not just dating, any romantic or sexual entanglements. I have plenty of friends, human and electronic, to meet my needs. And yet, in my hands was a large express mail envelope addressed to me from a popular reality dating show. I've called my mother, my best friend, and both of my grandmothers to see if any of them know about this. No one has called me back. Maybe it's just some promotional item. It was one of the more clever dating shows, and I'm a fan, but I'd never admit that. Did I order something? The envelope was more like a package, heavy, too heavy just for a shirt, but it was soft like clothing. Maybe it's a sweatshirt? I knew one of those nosy broads had something to do with this, and I refused to open Pandora's box until one of them fessed up. Fine, I shouted into the void as I pulled open the ripped tab too quickly and banged my knuckles on the cookie jar. Inside was a stack of paper and a hoodie. I dumped the contents on my kitchen counter and picked up the shirt. It was cute with the Set Your Cap logo right size too. I hung it over the chair next to me and picked up one of the papers that fell on the floor. Congratulations, Lucia. It's time for you to find love. We're excited to have you as our next featured single. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being with me for 10 years, and here's, I don't know, 10 more maybe? No. Cake and punch and beverages in the back. Please eat some. Bye, everyone. I mean, I haven't ended it yet. Or I just want to know, is it, you said it'd be available on YouTube. Is it? But because I didn't push the, I mean, do you guys want to record now? I haven't ended the stream yet.
I just thought maybe if we ordered it, but it didn't go online and it would be on the YouTube. That's all.
I don't think so. Oh, so there's keys on the information desk at that end there. It's pretty at this end, and then the bathroom's downstairs. Oh, those are Sarah's. Let me grab them.
Was late until I found the email for all of these. I was thinking.
See. Photos later.
Well, thank you. Send me that.
Same email.